Hello, hello, everyone. I'm hoping that we have sound because when I did one of these this afternoon, we had no sound. That was fun. People were like, I can't hear you. And I was like, turn your volume up. And then I realized it was because the streaming platform that I use doesn't have any sound. So that was fun. Anyway, if you're watching live, please do give this a little share. And I'm going to do that on my phone as well at the same time. And if you are watching on replay, please let us know where you are on the replay. I'm just going to turn the volume up and make sure it's working.
Yeah, and I was like,
yeah, it is. Okay, so good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Heidi Mavir. I'm the founder of EOTAS Matters. We work supporting parents and carers of children and young people who have barriers to attendance. And I'm joined tonight by one of our magnificent changemakers. I've been working with a cohort of changemakers all year, and Natalie is one of them. You might know Natalie through her work, you probably will, through her work for the Free School Meals campaign for EOTAS kids, which she made some incredible changes for our children and young people. And as a result of her work, lots of us have now got free school meals for our EOTAS kids. So big thumbs up. But that's not all. So I'm going to let Natalie tell you a little bit about herself with the understanding that I've told her she's got to toot her horn and she's got to tell everyone how wonderful she is. So over to you. Give me a little bit of your introduction. I know there's a lot. You've got a lot of strings to your bow.
Okay, well, thank you for that lovely introduction, Heidi, and thank you for having me here on this Facebook Live. I've been on your group for a few years now, and I love what you do, so it's really great to be here. This year has been very busy for me. I've been a carer for most of my adult life, but I've been a parent carer for like 6 years, and this year, all the kind of stress and strains and wisdom learned during that time just kind of all came to a head, and I had some kind of success and some positive things happen, which was really nice. So yeah, I'm proud to say that I was the highly commended NASEN Changemaker of the Award 2024. So that was wonderful for my steering and leading of the Free School Meal Inclusion campaign. That was a massive thing that happened this year. And obviously that was as a result of having changed government policy. So the DfE wrote to me in November 2023, admitting that discrimination might be happening and agreeing to update the guidelines to help 100,000 children with disabilities finally get the free school meals they deserve by having reasonable adjustments put in place. So that was the massive thing this year, one of the main things.
Huge, huge. So
Yeah.
congratulations on your highly commended, very much deserved. And I know that on the back of that, people are like, what's your next campaign? And you're like, well, actually, I have other things that I'm excited about as well. And that's why we're chatting today, right? So
Yeah.
over this year, you've been thinking about what next. And I know that you're studying, so you've got all of that in the mix. But I know the thing that you're really passionate about is supporting, advocating, educating, and just being a voice for parent carers, right? That's one of your things. That's your thing. So do you mind just defining what you mean by parent carer? Because some people might not even know what that actually means.
So basically, we have like 1.3 million children with disabilities apparently in the UK. That means we have 1.3 parent carers in the UK. But yet people often talk about carers and they think about people working as carers or being carers to their elderly or relatives or spouses, because the majority of carers are, as I was researching it today from the government statistics and census surveys, the majority of people care for their parents or their spouses. But after that, it's children. And I remember the first time that I realized as a parent that I was also a carer. And I remember saying to one of my family members, I'm a carer. And they went, no, you're not. You're a mother. And I went, but I'm not just a mother, am I? Because I've left work. I have to bring my son food in bed because he's bedbound. I need to bring him medication. I need to do all these emails. I'm applying to send this to tribunals because of his SEN needs. So I started to realize that there was a term parent carer, and I started researching it, but it's not out there enough. And I do want to do something to change that. Okay, I don't want parent carer to be an add-on anymore. I want there to be a group. I'm going to launch a new group which is about parent carers. It's called Parent Carers UK, and it's like uniting together and really kind of understanding that if we don't look after our parent carers and nurture them, how can they look after the children that they have the responsibility for and with disabilities and things like that? So I feel very strongly about this, and I really want to I really encourage all my parent carer clients to write parent carer at the end of every email letter they write, not just so and so mom or so whatever. And also, because it doesn't matter what gender you are either, whether you're the father or the mother. If your name's Leah or Lee, doesn't matter. You're a parent carer, and that's something special. That's something which should be kind of honoured, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's one of those things that a lot of us, when we're sort of like starting to get our head around the fact that we have children or young people in our care and in our homes that have needs over and above their peers, that first step is starting to get your head around, okay, so I've got a disabled child. That's like step one. And then step two is, and so my role as their parent is more than just inverted commas parenting. And I think because we're unpaid, we're not recognized. Even if you get DLA, for example, disability living allowance, it's not a salary, at all. And I think it's really having that recognized in terms of your position and your expertise is really important, because as a carer for your child, you know more about their needs. Like we always say parents know best, but actually parent carers really do know best, because they're the people practically applying what needs to be done to meet their child's needs on a day-by-day basis, day in, day out. And I know that it's not the important distinction, I think, is that you might not even have thought of yourself in this way before. I like when I first spoke to you about this, I was like, oh God, yeah. And then I also realized that not only was I a parent carer to my young person, but he is a young carer for me. So like I'm his kind of like, we laugh that I'm his emotional support animal, but he's my physical support. He does a lot of physical things for me around the house because of my chronic illness. So like there's often that at play as well, right? And that needs to be factored in. People need to know that this is not simply a parent-child relationship. There's an extra element of the emotional load, the physical load, the financial load that parent carers are exposed to and experiencing every day.
Exactly. And there's always a focus on the child, which is right, because it's a vulnerable child, and I'm not getting away from that. Like, it's so important. And as a teaching professional for so long, I understand that. I remember when they first brought out empowering parents, and I was a teacher myself, and I was a bit scared, like, we need to empower parents more. Like, do we? I was a little bit, and now that I've been a parent carer myself, I'm like, we really do need to empower the parents more, because it's such a tough job anyway, and it's not spoken about because of the nuclear family, and it's a bit of a taboo to mention if you're struggling as a parent, because it doesn't fit with the adverts, with the 2.4 children in the driveway and the holidays and everything. And then if you're a parent carer, you're often getting a lot of judgment, and there can be stigma. If you're a solo parent, or if you might have neurodiversity yourself, it's multi-layered. And if you're a different ethnicity, that can also create problems, or lots of different reasons. And you can be judged. There's unfair allegations because of all the fear from the local authorities, who are so scared that they're going to get criticised, when actually they're not safeguarding the child by giving unfair allegations towards the parent carer, which have no evidence to back them up. So all of these things, I think, are really important to we really need to nurture our parent carers. And there's a psychologist, I think it's Jo Griffiths, I think she started looking into this more, and found out that lots of parent carers have PTSD and things like that. And a lot of the parent carers that I spoke to, who were going to food banks and couldn't, had food insecurity, they're living on the edge, feeling suicidal. And it breaks my heart, because I know how it feels to be anxious and upset. And my heart goes out to all these parent carers. It really does.
It's horrific. And I think those of us who have been in the system for a while, but like there's always that thing of, for me, I'm supporting a family at the moment, and there's family court involvement, and she's a parent carer, and she's also a disabled adult herself. And the pushback we're getting currently is just horrific around requesting reasonable adjustments, and they're very simple reasonable adjustments for her as a neurodivergent adult. But my God, it's really eye-opening. And I always think you're only ever a bad couple of months away from being in a right old mess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like as a
Yeah.
parent carer, the wheels can come off very quickly. Your child's health, physical or mental, can deteriorate. Your health, physical or mental, can deteriorate. Your ability to work, to earn, to to drive, all those things that are essential for those of us who are parent carers can very easily slip away from you, and then before you know it, you're in deep doo-doo. So yeah, I think it's really important that we recognize that even those of us who are managing inverted commas still need to have that status recognized.
I totally
So
agree. I felt like it was like a house of cards, like with me, when sometimes I felt like, oh, if something happened, I got ill, that was it. Then everything would just fall down, and then there was no one else to get the pieces, and it was really stressful. So my son's better now; he's recovered, but I decided, like, because he's recovered, that's why I got a bit more time to try and like fight the cause for the others.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about what your plans are, because you've got so Open Doors Education, Open Doors, Opening Doors.
Yes, Open Doors Education. I decided I'm launching my Open Doors Education company in January because like I've done some campaigning now that's open doors, and I want to open those same doors for more children and young people who want to progress in their English learning, because that's my profession. I'm a tutor at the moment. I've been doing one-to-one tutoring in my area, and I have 14 students who I go to their home and tutor, but I want to bring that online, one-to-one online, and also I want to start doing some GCSE boot camps, 6-week boot camps for neurodivergent children, or children and young people who aren't that engaged with English. Like I get a lot of my students who like science and maths, and they just don't really like English, and I love it when they come to me, because then I've got to try and find a way to engage them. So that's what I'd like. I want to widen my scope with that work.
I love that. I love that so much. I've got a son, I've got a son, and he had an amazing English tutor as part of his EOTAS package. And between them, they lifted his grade from, I think, a 5 to, is it an 9-star, 8-star, whatever the top star,
yes,
whatever
that's
the
a star. Like, yeah, that's the new. Yeah, the old school. Yeah, brilliant.
Because she found a way in with him. Do you know what I mean? And she was neurodivergent affirming. So it's really important. So if people want to find what you've got happening at the minute, if they go to this link that I've just put up on screen, the Linktree link, there are links to your current work, your campaigning work, and they can also get access to your other bits and pieces. So the free school meals guidance, there's some footage of you on Sky News, and all that fun stuff. And then they can also connect with you on Instagram as well. Yeah. And then the other thing that you're working on, like as well alongside that, is developing your offer for parent carers. Yes. Oh, I've loved you. And what's that going to look like? Do you know?
So I want to help more parent carers to support them to court. So support in court. I want to help anyone that's thinking, oh, should I be going to court or not? And like emotionally, I've got a couple of parents I'm helping at the moment who just need some emotional support because they're scared, or they're not sure if they've got enough evidence, or they just want to talk through their child's neurodiversity. So just to give you the background, I've been in court in the last 10 years 6 times, unfortunately. One of them was divorce, but I went to DWP, where that one had representation, but I went to DWP for my son that had chronic fatigue ME and won that, self-represented. Then I went to CENGIAS 3 times and won all of those. And I also went to the government to court with the human rights lawyers. And so I got a lot of experience of court. I have family members who are lawyers and stuff. And I feel very strongly that at the moment it's a bit of a broken system because the legal aid is just not really there. There's not enough lawyers, there's not enough money, and it's really tiring. And I kind of want to be what I wish I'd had when I was in this situation where I was scared to go to court and I was tired and I was a carer, and I wish there was someone I could have called, because I normally speak on the phone. I don't do everything by email because I get sick of the emails. I speak on Zoom or call to my clients, and we just type out a letter together or fill out a form for a tribunal or whatever they need. We work out an action plan, or we look through an EHCP or an EdSite report, because I've been a teacher and I have postgraduate certificate in education since 2004. I'm very accustomed to reading reports and quickly picking through them and working out, you know, which things will help as evidence in order to get help in alternative provision schools, and also looking at where ed psychs may have got things wrong or missed things out, and looking at which other professionals you might want to get involved and where you might want to put your money, whether it's worth saving up for a lawyer or saving up for a private report or whatever, or just worth, you know, looking at other things. I have often point people in your direction, Heidi, as EOTAS Matters queen and a, you know, knowledgeable person, and your amazing resources, because I got EOTAS for my son after watching your webinar. So it just, I kind of want to just help parent carers that don't have anywhere to turn. So that's kind of one of the things I'll be doing as well.
I think that's really key as well, is having someone who can kind of, I think that one of the biggest challenges, I think, when you're a parent carer and you're going through whatever part of the system you're going through, so whether that's DLA or EHCPs or whatever you're trying to do, is there are so many balls that you're juggling, and there are so many things that you feel you should be giving your attention to, and it's just so overwhelming. And sometimes, like I've had this when I've had people on a call and we get to the end of the call and we've got a massive action list, and some parents are like, great, that's brilliant, but some do need a, can we just do this now? Like this hour that I've got with you, how would it be best spent? Would it be best spent us actually writing this complaint letter? Would it be best spent us actually filling in your tribunal paperwork? Because an hour is really precious. Like if you've got a child or children or young people or whoever at home who need you. I know when you and I spoke last week, you'd brought in the grandparents for childcare and you shipped out somewhere else to sit in a cafe so we could have a conversation. Like we don't all have the luxury of being able to just jump on a Zoom, and, you know, like we don't all have infinite number of hours in the day. So I think that's really important, meeting people where they are and giving them exactly the support that they need with as much hands-on as is required, because one size doesn't fit all, right?
Exactly. And also we know how it feels because we've been there, because and you can feel very strong when you're on the phone to someone who's supporting you, and then you have all the intentions to carry on with their action plan, but once the phone goes down and suddenly you're back on your own, swamped by everything, and then you think, oh, when am I going to do it? And another thing I want to say is that if people speak to me, I'm going to do some webinars over the Christmas holidays as well, because that's another point where people just suddenly everything goes quiet. You've got no social service help, no school help. And I don't mind if people have their children with them. Often they tell their children, go away. I'm like, no, it's fine. Sit them on your lap. They can go high. I don't care what they do. I don't care if they stick their tongue out at me. I don't care. And like, also, if you want to walk, if you're walking along with your headphones and there's a park behind you, I did my whole campaign from my bathtub, because that was the only time I had quiet on my own at the end of the night, on my phone, in the bath, doing my Facebook scheduling and posts. Honestly, it's tough when you're a parent carer and you have to find the windows, and you don't have to fit in with the, you know, you don't have to be sat down at the Zoom, doing things perfectly.
No, it's not possible either. No. And it's not like, I think for us as advocates, we have to be in the space showing up in the way that it's okay for our clients to show up. So that means for me often in bed. Very often when Theo was living here, being interrupted by him either because something was going wrong or something was going really well and he had to show me straight away. You know, like you have to, that has to be okay. That's part of the territory with being a parent carer, right? And like I always think about things like when they, you know, this family I'm supporting at the minute, and been asked to go to a meeting because they want to see us face to face. I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. Like, you're going to have to do it on Zoom as a reasonable adjustment, and because they can't leave, you know, their 2 kids come to a meeting and they can't bring them with them, and they haven't got anyone else. So you're going to have to do it on Zoom. And then I'll go to her house and I'll look after the kids while she's on Zoom. And they were like, well, why don't you look after the kids in her house while she comes to the meeting? Well, no, because it's a 2-hour round trip. Do you know what I mean? But these are things we've got to put these accommodations in place for ourselves. And we have to be around other parents and other parent carers who kind of give us permission to do that by modeling it for us, because we have to be like, it's all right to ask for these things, you know.
Exactly. Sorry to interrupt you, just with that to maybe think about how, there's lots of amazing carers charities out there, but they often offer things which are aimed towards people who are retired and can leave their husband for an hour, whatever they're caring for. And I remember it took me 2 years before I could go to the carers coffee morning at my local carer centre. I was saying to them, I'm finally here because I'm able to leave my son for half an hour now, because before I was too scared and because he was too young. So I just worry about how many parent carers out there just have no support in place, and they're just so isolated, and
A lot.
and the holiday things as well. The holiday offers, local offers, which are just not personalised enough, and it's just tick boxes from the local authority, and they put them on, don't they? And I mean, I'm sure they help some people, which is great, but there are just so many people who are saying on my groups, who are telling me we can't make use of refuel and all the holiday schemes, and so my child doesn't get any help then in the holidays. It's really hard. So yeah,
I think that's really key, that acknowledging how isolated lots of parent carers feel, particularly parent carers who are solo parenting. So who are the only adult in the home with one or more children with different complex needs, or even just I guess one of the things for me that I realised was when Theo was poorly, I've been a single parent since he was 2. And I had support, like I had people nearby. They weren't family, but I had friends. But I just had this thing where when I really needed it, there wasn't anyone I could ask.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I didn't feel I could ask. And then there was lots of conversations with, like the local offer thing, is there no one you can ask to come and do? No, there isn't. And if there was, I would, but there really isn't. I can ask a friend to come and spend a bit of time with me. I can ask a neighbour to take my bins out. I can ask a very good friend to bring me a meal every once in a while. But beyond that, I'm on my own. And generally speaking, I'm on my own all day, every day in the house with my disabled child.
Yeah.
And I need things to come to me. I can't go to them.
Yeah.
And I think that's a pretty common experience for many of our families.
But then a lot of people feel shame about being honest about how hard that is, because people say, well, you're not working and you're at home, but actually sometimes not being able to work when you want to and being at home is you feel that there's even less you can do, and then you have trouble. You can't get exercise, you can't get stress relief, you have less social time. And people don't realize that when their child is at school for 5 hours a day, that's the responsibility is on the school, and that load is lifted. And unless you've been at home for months on end, it's very difficult to know how hard that is. But did you get respite, like from the Carers Act 2014 is meant to provide respite to parent carers? Did you manage to get that from your local authority?
Towards the end, we got a short breaks budget, which I used to pay a PA, but I had to fight for it for almost a year.
Yeah, same with me.
Yeah. Even though I knew what we should have had, and I was asking for assessments, I was being told you don't meet the threshold, and I knew we did, but constant pushing, and I know that social worker caseloads are massive. I know they are, but I think that there's also that as well in the mix. For us as parent carers, we see often other families who appear to be struggling more than we are, and we don't want to be a drain on resources because we know how overloaded the system is. And I even had that said to me, well, there are other families that are in much greater need, and I do know that, and I also know that we are entitled to this support. But I do worry about how many families would hear that and just be like, oh, okay, yeah, good point.
I had that as well. For family members as well. And I did think, oh, you're right. My child, is verbal, and, he was bedbound in the end. It's pretty bad. And he's breathing without a machine. But then I thought to myself, yes, that's true. There are people with higher needs than my child, but there are also people who are getting free education at school, getting their free school meal, with lots of support around them. So, and with the free school meal campaign, one of the reasons why I pushed it forward was because if we decide as a society to give free school meals, then we can't exclude children with disabilities and ARFID and autism and, And we can't be giving out reception to year 3. Oh yeah, everyone, no matter what your income, you can have free school meals. And then, but if you're at home and your parent left work and you've got a disability and you've got low income, you're not getting it because you're not at school. That is not fair. And I would see around my area children that didn't need the free school meals who couldn't opt out. They had 2-parent families, very wealthy, going skiing every holiday, but they would just take the free school meals. And
yeah.
so,
And I also think as well, there is that thing when you're a parent carer where there comes a point, I think, for all of us. Like I kind of like to think of the collective responsibility as flipping it, right? So my family's needs and what I'm asking for my family does not undermine your family's needs and what you're asking for your family. We are all entitled. If we have disabled children, it doesn't matter what kind of disability it is, whether it's visible or not visible. For those who are watching, the definition of disability in the Equality Act is a condition, an illness, or an injury that will last or is expected to last more than 6 months, and that has an impact on your capacity to carry out day-to-day tasks, which includes going to school, right? So if you have a disabled person in your home, a disabled child in your home, they have rights. They are protected by the Equality Act. They are protected by the Education Act. They are protected by the Care Act. And there are things that you should be asking for and should be offered. The challenge is that you're not offered. So you've got to know what to ask for. But I like to think of it in terms of it's not my responsibility because the system is on its knees to go without, for my disabled child to go without, because there are other children who have different needs to my child. That's not on me. And actually, if more of us insisted on what we were entitled to, it would force the hand of the people in Whitehall to make decisions that were in the best interest of all disabled children. So I think that's where our collective responsibility comes from. We have to, as a collective, become impossible to ignore. And that's what we did with, that's what you did with the free school meals campaign. That's what we did with the campaign that I supported for, fines and prosecutions for attendance. We've got to be impossible to ignore and difficult to say no to. We've got to.
Exactly. And we're just so lucky we have this medium to do that, because there's so much negativity at the moment about technology and children, iPads. But with this technology, I would never have done this campaign if I didn't have access to the law, the Education Act and the Equality Act online. If I hadn't learned about that through you, Heidi, the Equality Act, if I hadn't had access to videos that I could video myself on my phone, and also my network. So it was 20 parent carers and it built up 200, now it's 4,000, because I realized that there was no one else in my situation, someone who was a parent, a solo parent on free school meals with a child with a disability unable to go to school. So I was a minority within a minority. So I wasn't going to be able to find anyone to lobby with me locally. We couldn't do a protest outside our local authority. So I had to find people across the country. So then I found people from Liverpool and Devon and Bournemouth and Brighton, and we all got together. And then when they had the Westminster Hall debate, it was so lovely to see all the cross-party, different politicians from different parties, different areas of the country, all agreeing unanimously that it was right that they changed policy. So I just love the fact that we can unite, and I want to really unite even more parent carers through my groups in the future.
I agree.
But I also do really, really want to just say as well, as well as doing my parent carer stuff, I do love being a teacher. And if there is anybody who's interested in my boot camp for GCSE, which I already trialed last year, but I wasn't able to release because I was training to be an accredited dyslexia specialist teacher with the BDA. I will be launching that in February, and I have had a lot of success with my GCSE students. One of my first students was ADHD, and he left one school, chucked out of another school, and he, after 8 weeks of intense tutoring, went from a level 4 to a level 7. So that was just like Amazing. 3 times a week with me. And and since then I've had many more
like
students.
A D to an A in old money, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like a D, a high D to a low A. Yeah, in old school. So, but the main thing was he took it a year early, and it got him to the college where he could do music, because he's very talented. And he, at the end of it, he was like, do you know what? I don't mind English now. And I was just like, yeah, okay, my job's done, you know.
Yeah,
I said, you might end up writing articles for music magazines one day. You don't know. You might end up
that's
using
it.
these skills.
That's
So
it. I think one of the keys for all of our children and young people is having access to good quality tuition that will give them the opportunity to rebuild their confidence, because a lot of our kids that are out of school, their confidence is through the floor, right? And they think that they're stupid and they think that they're failing. And that was one of the things I was super grateful for when we had EOTAS. We had 3 tutors who were just magnificent and like made such a difference to him in terms of him like reconnecting with a love of learning, being excited about those sessions. But they were very neurodivergent affirming, as I know that you are. And that made all the difference to him. And to the point that he like that basically gave him the pathway back into education, and now he's at uni. That just wouldn't have happened, you know, like, and good quality neurodivergent affirming tutoring is, for those of us who have kids who are not able to attend school, my God, it's worth its weight in gold. So I'm really pleased that you're doing your boot camps. I think it's going to be amazing.
It's one way that I can get out to more people and offer my services at a lower price, because my prices up I'm not the cheapest. But also I will say that if you do one-to-one tutoring with me, I try and offer a lot. I'm not just, I'll roll up, flick open the laptop, what are we going to do today? Like a lesson like at school. No, I do very personalized towards the child, and I try and get them to learn as much as possible quickly to suit them, because I do think quality over quantity. Like if you choose 10 sessions with a good quality tutor, I can cover punctuation, grammar, literature devices quite quickly. And if you have a tutor or a teacher that's not so good, or a child that's not very engaged in their school, it can take a lot longer because they're switched off, or they are not able to ask their tutor or their teacher for feedback. And that's another problem. And if you're neurodivergent, you may not want to say, I don't quite get this, because your brain thinks differently.
Yeah.
Or be tired of always being the one.
Not even knowing that you're not really processing it at the speed that it's moving, or not being aware that you're not, like I have this sometimes with my ADHD. I'll think that I'm listening and then it'll get to the end and I'll be like, oh God, I wasn't at all.
Do you know what I say to my students sometimes? I'm like, were you just reading that and it wasn't going in, or were you reading it? But I say it because I say it in that way, they go, yeah, I was just reading it without actually comprehending it. Like, let's do it again. But I don't go, you weren't reading that properly, because you see the difference. It's like suddenly you're being attacked. And also I say things like, oh, well, no, I'm not actually sure what that word means. And like, you know, I'm studying at a very high level at UCL. And then they're surprised, and English teachers doesn't know what it means. Let's look it up together. So I don't mind showing that I don't know everything. If I make a mistake, I say, oh, look, I've made a mistake. And it's like that environment where they feel safe to make a mistake, safe to explore, look things up. It's really important, I think.
So important, so vital. So people, do go and find Natalie. She is a force of nature. I was going to say a tour de force, and then I was going to say a force of nature, and it came out as a tour of nature. So if you would like to have a nature tour, oh my God, she is a tour of, oh my God, she's excellent. Go and find her.
Nurturing, naturing.
God, she's a nature trail. I've put her link on screen.
Thank you, Heidi.
You will find her also by following her on Instagram, parent_carers_UK, or head over to her link tree to get all of her links for her current work. And I know we're going to chat again, because I'm so excited to see what you're doing. I knew we wouldn't stick to 20 minutes. It's 35. But
I could carry on. There's more I want to say.
We'll be here all night, but I need my tea, so let's call it enough.
Okay, fine.
So thank you for joining me, and thank you everyone for watching along, and let us know if you made it to the end of the replay. And go and find Natalie and check out her work. We'll see you all later.
Bye, Heidi. Thank you.